Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg with Demonosophy and Beyond. I hope everybody's doing okay. As per request, this video is about my occult library and the books that I had. One of the seekers who came to watch one of my videos requested to see the books so that they would be able to buy them. They want to see the actual books so that they know what titles to get. So I'm going to go through my whole occult library so the audience knows what I have and a little bit about each book. It's not necessarily a review, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So let's get started. This one, Real Alchemy. This is probably like a beginner's book on alchemy. It's very simple. They have different exercises that you can go through that are steps. And I've worked through a good deal of this book. I worked through this like a few years ago, and I had fun with it. So if you like alchemy, definitely get this book. The Desktop Guide to Herbal Medicine. At the beginning of my path, when I wasn't really dealing with spirits and stuff like that, I really liked using herbs for healing. And from time to time, I still do. I like to make teas and potions, things like that, and also mojo bags. So this book, I think it's a little older. It goes through the different herbs. It tells you whether they're yin or yang, whether they're hot or cold, which is good for practices like voodoo or hoodoo. It lists contradictions, what parts are edible, and it goes pretty deep. So I use this as a good reference. The New Age Herbalist. I honestly haven't used this book a lot, but it's got some real good pictures, and like I said, it's a real good reference book in case you're into using herbs. The Herbal Healing Book. This is also another one that I haven't really gone deep into because I have certain books that I like better than others. But I went through a period where I was collecting books on herbal healing, and sometimes I would compare because some books don't have other herbs, and other books do. And also, like, some of the older books seem to have more information on certain herbs than others. So I like to have books from different generations, time periods, just to see what kind of information each one has. Dictionary of Angels, another good reference book just in case you deal with angels. I do so on occasion, so it's good to have so that I can understand what I'm dealing with. Although I still end up scratching my head from time to time. Dictionary of Demons. I deal with demons a lot, so it's good to have some kind of reference. I've already gone through this book in review, so it's a very good reference, and I do recommend it. Here's a book that I've already reviewed. This is the Jinn Sorcery by Rain Al-Alim. Like I said, it is a very good book. The spells are advanced, but when you do the magic, it's pretty intense. And I do recommend this book if you can get your hands on it. I think there are two kinds of editions. There's the there's this one, and then there's maybe a hardcover edition, or there might be a deluxe edition. But I just buy the regular editions because I'm not rich like that. The Forbidden Grimoire of Harut and Marut. It's a beautiful book. It was hardback. It's 55 bucks. I haven't really done any spells in there, but I think there are a couple of like easy enough spells to work. Like I said, this is also supposed to be Jinn magic, and when it's based on the Middle Eastern methods, a lot of the spells can be very complex and time consuming. So you have to be like mentally prepared for it, and you have to be physically prepared, and you have to be invested in doing magic. The Book of Smokeless Fire. This seems to be pretty infamous. I know a couple people who have this book. This is about Jinn, and honest, I would never use anything in here. Like, there's a lot of just offensive and terrible magic, and you'd have to really hate somebody to use the magic in here, because the spirits that you're supposed to evoke are said to hate you, and if you do anything wrong, they could kill you. And I'm not willing to risk that. So it's an interesting book to have, but not something that is practical for me. This is the Arabian Magic Compendium. This book is okay. I've done a couple of spells in it. I haven't gone through it all the way because there's a lot of stuff that's just not practical. This is also based on Middle Eastern magic, so it's going to be kind of complex and time consuming to do the spells. This is kind of, it's good reference to have to kind of understand the way spells in the Middle East are composed. And when I was on my Jinn trip, then I was buying everything that had to do with Middle Eastern magic. Liber Isfet. Okay, I've already done a review on this. This is about Egyptian sorcery. It's a very good book. I like it. And it's hardcover, so it's pretty good quality and not terribly expensive. Liber Isfet. Qigong. I kind of skimmed through this, but I really do like Eastern magic, and I think that it has a different flavor to it than Western magic, and it's also older. And I think that Eastern magic has a different mindset and a different way of working things. It's kind of like the difference between left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Kind of. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I keep it around just for reference. I haven't really worked through it. Next book. I actually got this at the supermarket because every once in a while they have a used book sale. This is Phantasmagoria, a compendium of monsters, myths, and legends. It's always good to have because I feel like a lot of this is based on a lot of truth and a lot of lore from different cultures. So it's good to have a knowledge of like different monsters, different demons, and stuff like that. Even though they are listed as myth. The Devil's Koran. Like I said, it's a short read. I reviewed this before. Short read. It's got some truth in it. I don't really agree with everything. I worked through some of it, and I got results from it. And good reference to have. Let's see. Next. This is the Complete Illustrated Encyclopedia of Magical Plants. I think I did use this a couple of times. It's not really... It doesn't have as much as some of the other books, but it does have very good photographs, and it does have good information on it. And it's just another good reference book to have to kind of compare with my other reference books on herbs. And this focuses more on the magical application of the herbs rather than like making teas and stuff like that. So if you're into using herbs for magical things such as mojo bags or whatever your practice is, maybe, green witchcraft or something, this is good to have. Mosby's Handbook of Herbs and Natural Supplements. Like I said, on my herb trip, I bought a lot of reference books so that I would know what I was doing with the herbs. And this is one of those, it's like a dictionary. I really love this book. Whew, this is dirty. How long have I had this book? I don't know if I think I bought this like used, but it's talks about proper dosage, and this is more, I guess, like medically inclined, but very good to have, and I enjoy it. I've used it a couple times. The next is Sacred Herbs, your guide to 40 medicinal herbs and how to use them for healing and well-being. This only has 40, but like I said, it's good reference, good for comparison, good to have, and so that is in my library. Next, I actually bought this at a thrift store. This is one of the older books, Herbal Medicine, The Natural Way to Get Well and Stay Well. Some of the remedies in here are not listed in other books, which is why it's good to get older books. Because for some reason, I guess, they just delete that information from the newer stuff. And it's good for comparison. I've skimmed through this book. I found some good stuff, on garlic, honey, some good home remedies, and I really do like this book. So I'd recommend that for reference as well. Alright, this one is a little bit unorthodox when it comes to the occult, but The Alchemist. Now, the thing is that there is a lot of hidden information in books that are like stories and stuff like that, and you have to pick it out and you have to be aware of things like this. And I think The Alchemist is one of those books. This was actually given to me by my sister, and I would like to thank her for that. Really opened my eyes. The best thing about it is I'm big on Thoth. Not like super big, but he's like one of the first spirits that ever helped me out. And I feel like he plays a part in this. If you read it or have read it, you may recognize it, but it's very subtle. So, but it's good material. All right, this one is 2 volumes, and I feel like this is more philosophical, but it actually goes pretty deep. And this is Tempus Invictus and Tempus Procedium by Ernest L. Norman. Bought this on eBay. Both these books together were $40. They talk about how like man has been spoiled by electronics and some other things. They really go deep, and I feel like this guy was ahead of his time in some of the things that he says. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, and I don't necessarily understand all of it, because he's one of those authors that I believe uses those big words that you have to look up all the time. And so I haven't gone through all of these books. There are certain sections that I pick out that pertain to topics that I'm interested in, and I did read those. And I do recommend having those in your library for reference, or just to look at and just see if there's anything that vibes with you in these books. And these are, just one more thing about these. These are, I believe these are older. This guy is dead. When were these published? 1968. Yeah. The Green Witch. This is a very good book, I believe. I've read through like half of it, but this is one of those books that encourages you to have your own style pertaining to green witchcraft. Like, it gives you suggestions, but not exact rules, because everybody is going to interact with the green differently and show an appreciation for the green in different ways. So I really like this book because it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, you have to do it this way or yada yada yada. And it's a pretty quick read. You can get through it, and it's very well made. And this was only like 17 bucks. So I do recommend picking this up if you are into plants in green witchcraft. And this also fits very well with my, my herbal books. Next, Book of the Black Dragon. This is what I am currently going through and doing the exercises in. And this is some heavy stuff. This is one of the authors that uses big words. So keep your phone or a dictionary and a thesaurus next to you, because there's going to be some stuff that you just don't know. And it's going to pop up and you won't understand. Well, a lot of it is hard to understand, even if you understand what the words mean. And it's just something that, like, sometimes I have to read the same stuff 2-3 times and then get it. Sometimes I have to deprive myself of sleep in order to get. It's one of those books, but very good. Here's another unorthodox pick. I wouldn't necessarily say occult, but if you read some of the things in it, you may be able to pick some things out that are truth about the occult. And this is Clive Barker's The Great and Secret Show. I feel like it is a very good novel that talks about the ascension process of two individuals, and it kind of, not accurately, but it's a very good description of how maybe a magical fight of non-physical beings would go. And it also talks about, like, the story, the actions have consequences and affects the environment around you. And that was one thing that stood out to me. So I think some authors like Clive Barker, Neil Gaiman, people in that vein, have an understanding of different worlds and magical concepts, and they put that in their work. It shows in it. And it's very good to pay attention, because in fiction you may learn about magic. The Conjure Workbook. Working the Root. This wasn't one of my favorite books. This kind of talks about hoodoo, and the author stresses using the Bible with the magic. She's very adamant about how you have to use the Bible and that the magic won't work. I do not believe that you need the Bible to use magic, but it is a magic book of sorts. This didn't really vibe with me, but it's always good to have as reference, even if you don't plan on using that type of magic. Right now I'm about to run out of space. So what I'm going to do is break this up in 2 parts and continue. It's going to be part 1. So I'll talk to you very soon, and I'm going to drop the second video probably right after I drop this one. So I just hope that everybody's safe and healthy. The usual stuff, And I hope to see you again soon. And feel free to just ask me about different topics, or if you have something that you want to know about, some theme, some question, I would love to answer it. And also, I haven't really talked about it. I did release a book on Lulu called Leaning Left, which is a grimoire of personal spells. Some of them are based on styles that I've read from. Some of them are personally made. And I will put the link for it at the bottom of the video so that you'd be able to purchase it. It's a quick read. But if you really want to go through the spells, it might be a little bit deeper. So I'm going to do that, and I will see you next video.